Hello everyone, my name is Claire and welcome back to Stage Manager Supply Co. Today, we're kicking off a 3-part scheduling series by creating a production calendar in both Word and Excel, all from scratch. We will primarily use Word for this series in creating our documents, but for the production calendar, we'll also make a version of the calendar in Excel. Before we get any further into scheduling, I would first like to say that Black Lives Matter, and that I am creating this content on the traditional lands of the Potawatomi, Peoria, Kickapoo, Miami, and Sioux tribes. As we always do, we need to start our video by acknowledging the inequitable history and landscape of the United States, including but never limited to the fact that we are a country built on stolen land and developed on the backs of slaves. Stage Manager Supply Co. is my own attempt to bridge generations of systematic racism and oppression by making stage management arts education much more accessible. Today, I would like to highlight the American Indian College Fund. It is the nation's largest charity supporting Native students' access to higher education. Only 14% of American Indians and Alaskan Natives over the age of 25 hold a college degree. This reflects an extreme crisis of college completion and access amongst Native peoples today. The American Indian College Fund helps Native people reach their full potential by providing them with access to higher education and support once they get there. If you would like to signal boost or support the American Indian College Fund, you can visit their website, which is linked in the description below. Speaking of education accessibility, I firmly believe that arts education should not just be for those who can afford it. This channel was created to give you all the tools you need to develop your own stage management vault. However, if you would like to support the channel and the American Civil Liberties Union, you can purchase any of the documents that we're going to create today or that I've created in my past instructional videos on my Etsy shop. 50% of all proceeds created by the Etsy shop are donated directly to the ACLU, and the other 50% of profits are used to help recoup production costs. Either path you choose, of the Etsy shop or creating documents from scratch with me right now for free, we're going to arrive at the same destination. Finally, as I always tell you, this is my own personal unique stage management style of creating paperwork. What I adore about stage management is that everyone can have their own unique style of how they like to develop their documents. If, after you've watched how I create my production calendars, you have tips and tricks that I have missed, please feel free to comment below so we can grow our stage management hive mind even bigger. With all that being said, let's get into creating a production calendar. Okay, we are back. I'm going to try a lot more voiceover on this video and remove my kind of Claire cam out of the corner, and I'll only pop into frame if there are some really important topics that I would like to address. To get started, we're going to open up our production folder and then create a new folder called Production Calendar. Then we're going to enter into our templates folder and copy our base Word template. If you haven't already checked out my video on base document template setup, I would highly recommend that you pause this video, go over to that video, which I'll link in the description box, and watch at least the Word and Excel sections of that video. So much of what we created in that video is the basis for what we will be doing for the rest of the videos on my channel, so I highly recommend you watch that video and then come right back here and hit play on this video again. Now that you've watched my basic document template setup video and you are up to speed, we're going to retitle this document for my one-woman fictitious production of August Osage County. Next, we'll enter back into our production calendar folder and paste a copy of our Word template into the folder. To rename our document, I'll right-click on the name of the document, select Rename, and then type SMSCO, which, as we discussed in the base templates video, is our show code, then Production Calendar, followed by V Prelim. As I talked about in my contact sheets video, I like to title things prelim until they are distributed. Next, I will open up the document, select Layout from the toolbar, select Margins, and select Narrow, At this point, I noticed that the header and footer tables are not aligned correctly to the edges of the page anymore, but we're going to come back to that in a few minutes. In the meantime, I will retitle the header's title and subtitle to Production Calendar and V Prelim. Then I'll scroll down to the footer of my document and make sure that all of my information in the footer looks correct. Schedules are documents that I like to utilize the center cell of my footer to write subject to change so that the whole company knows that this document is not fully solidified. Sometimes, if I'm feeling extremely spicy, after I write subject to change on a new line right under that, I'll write at a moment's notice. While I'm down in the footer, I also will bold subject to change. Okay, everyone, we have reached an age-old dilemma when it comes to production calendars. Portrait or landscape mode? I know that many people have many opinions on this topic, but I will share that my hot take is that whatever orientation conveys all the information you need it to convey is the orientation you should use. Kind of a cop-out, I understand. However, I've created calendar documents in both portrait and landscape mode before. For the purposes of this video, we're going to do a landscape document because I haven't done a landscape document on this channel yet. We can change the document orientation by going to the Layout tab of the toolbar, selecting Orientation, and then Landscape. Now we have a landscape document. Our next step is my absolute favorite, inserting a table. Can you tell it's my favorite way to make paperwork? We can insert a table into our document by selecting Insert from the toolbar, Table, and then choosing a 7-column by 6-row table. Now that we have the table inserted into our document, we can finally adjust the header and footer of our document. I can adjust the tables and the header and the footer of the document by clicking into the header or the footer, selecting the right edge of the table, and clicking and dragging the edge to align with the edge of our table in the document. As you can see with the footer especially, as well as the header, now the cells in the header and footer table are not evenly distributed. We can fix this by highlighting the entire header table, selecting the Table Layout tab from the toolbar, and then selecting the Distribute Columns button. I'll repeat this process on the footer by highlighting the entire footer table and clicking Distribute Columns once again. Now I'll exit out of our header table so that we can begin working with our main document calendar table. As always, we're going to deal with putting the content of the document into the calendar first, and then we'll go back and make it look beautiful with formatting. First, I'm going to write my days of the week into the top row. As I go to write my days of the week in the first row of the table, I run into another age-old dilemma. Does the week start on Monday or Sunday? Once again, my hot take is that it's up to your personal preference. I find that after years of civilian calendar brainwashing, I have a hard time reading calendars that start on Monday, so we'll start this calendar on Sunday and input the rest of the days of the week into each column of the first row with cap locks on. And I'm going to check my calendar to see what day of the week the current month starts. As of writing the script of this video, it is July 2020, which started on a Wednesday. I also know after consulting my knuckles that July is a 31-month day. I know this because I was extremely blessed to have Mrs. Bodner as my 5th grade teacher who taught me the month knuckle trick. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I am putting up the month knuckle trick onto the screen right now. Once I've worked out the knuckle trick, which honestly still takes me way too long to figure out, I'm going to put in each number of each day of the month. So I put in all of my date numbers, and now I have a very squat table with numbers. Let's make this table bigger and make the date cells all equal heights. I'm going to do this by clicking and pulling the bottom border of my table all the way to the bottom of the page. Then I'm going to highlight the numbered rows of my table, not including my days of the week. Click the Table Layout tab of the toolbar, and then click the Distribute Rows button Distributing rows and columns is one of my favorite tricks in Word to make really nice looking paperwork. Now we do have a little problem. There is an empty second page to our document. If you don't already have paragraph markers turned on like I do, click the Home tab and then the Paragraph button. You can see we have a paragraph on the second page that we can't see with the blind eye. This is why I love paragraph markers. I'm going to change the text size of that paragraph by double-clicking, highlighting the paragraph, and going up to the text area in my Home tab and changing the size of the text to 1 or 2. And now we're back on one page. So great! Now we have a super basic calendar and can enter events and other important information into the cells. But wait! Before we go any further, I realized that the name of the month and the year isn't on our calendar yet. I can either add a row above my days of the week or add another column to my header table to put in the name of the month. Let me show you both ways. To put the name of the month into the table of our calendar, you can add a row by clicking into any cell in the top row. I'll click into Monday, selecting the Table Layout tab from the toolbar, selecting the green Insert Above button, and then immediately moving your cursor over to the Merge Cells button while your new first row is still highlighted. Now I have one cell across the top of the document where I can input the name of the month and the year. I typed in July 2020, bolded the font, center justified my month and year, and then I made my font size bigger to size 20. Once this was done, I see that my last row of weekdays has moved down to the second page of the document. I can rectify this by clicking and dragging the bottom border of our table so that the table fits onto one page again, then selecting the third to last rows of the table, selecting the Table Layout tab from the toolbar, and once again selecting the Distribute Rows button. And now we have a table with the name of the month in the physical calendar table itself. I'm going to undo all of this and show you how to insert the name of the table into the header table now. To put the name of the month into the header of your document, you can add a column to your header table. I can accomplish this by clicking into the header, clicking into the leftmost cell of the header table where my logo is located, selecting the Table Layout tab from the toolbar, selecting the green Insert Right button. Now I can click into my center cell, type in the name of the month and the year, and then I will select the Home tab of the toolbar, center align, bold, and adjust the font size of my month and year. Clicking back into our actual table, now you can adjust and format this document however you see fit. I am going to center justify all of my days of the week, bold the days of the week, and use the paint bucket tool to shade the cells of the days of the week a light gray. Something that you could do with this document if you have 3 empty days at the beginning of your first row, as we do with Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday right now, is that you could highlight those 3 cells, select the Table Layout tab from the toolbar, select the Merge Cells option, and use this one large cell as a notes section. I'll shade the notes section and my empty day at the end of the month a darker gray. Another pro tip is that if you would like to split a cell into 2, say for the 1st or 31st of a month, that may force you to create a week with only 1 day in it, you can totally accomplish this in Word tables. To do this, you will highlight the cell that you want to split. So for this document, I'll select Sunday the 26th, click the Table Layout tab of the toolbar, and then next to the Merge Cells button, there will be a button to split cells. Click the Split Cells button, and on the pop-up screen, you will want your number of columns to be 1 and your number of rows to be 2. You'll select OK, and now you can get 2 days out of 1 cell. And with that, we have a calendar for Word. There are so many ways that you can customize this calendar to your own needs, but this is a super simple launching point for you to create your own master calendar template. When you're ready to distribute this document, all you need to do is change your subtitle header to version A, select File, Save As, and then save the document as version A, keeping your file format a Word doc. Click Save, and then we'll PDF the document as version A by selecting File, Print, clicking the PDF icon in the bottom left, selecting Save as PDF, and then selecting Save. Once we've saved as a Word document and as a PDF, you can close out of the document, open up your PDF, and look at your amazing calendar. And with that, we have a calendar for Word. There are so many ways that you can customize this document, but this is just a super simple, basic template for you to use as a jumping off point. Let's create the same calendar we just made in Word in Excel. We're going to get a little more advanced in creating our Excel calendar. Each day of the month will be comprised of 2 cells. The first cell will be the number of the day of the month, and the second cell will be the scheduling content information cell. I'll explain this more as we go on. We're also going to make this calendar in Excel for August 2020. To start, we're going to copy our base Excel template and paste the document into the production calendar folder. Then we'll rename the document SMS Co. Production Calendar v. Prelim. Once the document is retitled, we'll open the document. Then we'll immediately select the Page Layout tab, select Margins, and then Narrow. Then we'll adjust the first row off of our header by going over to the ruler section of the document and clicking and dragging the first row down. Next, I'll retitle the header's title to Production Calendar and change the subtitle to V Prelim. I'll exit out of my header and then scroll down to my footer, where I will click into the center cell of my footer and add Subject to Change in a large font. Once we type in some content into the calendar itself, the page numbers will automatically adjust to be page 1 of 1. Now I'm going to scroll up to the top of my page and then select Page Layout out of the menu toolbar, select Orientation, and then Landscape. Once your page is landscape, we're going to resize the 7 columns of the week to fit the page. Do this by holding down the Shift key and selecting columns A through G, and then click and drag until all 7 columns fill the document. A quick refresher for those of you who didn't watch the templates video, we already have the cells centered on the page horizontally, so they will auto adjust to center. You can turn this on by selecting Page Layout, Page Setup, Margins, and then clicking Horizontal under the Center on Page option. I'm also going to center our document vertically on the page since it will be a full page document. Next, I'll either put my month name and year into the header center cell, or I will highlight the first row's 7 cells and select Merge and Center from the Home tab to create one row across the entire spreadsheet. When I type in the month and the year into the merged cell, Excel changes it to a date shorthand. That, while helpful, is not what I want the cell to say. Since Excel is a spreadsheet program and primarily is used for math and equations, not words, we're bending the program to our will here. We're going to need to change our cell type. I'm going to select All by clicking the top corner button near the rulers or using the text shortcut Command A. Then I'll select Format from the menu bar and Cells from the menu bar. This keyboard shortcut is Command 1. Under the Number tab, we're going to select Text out of the category menu. This way, our cells won't be modified even when we type in a number, date, or equation. I'll select OK, and then I see that my month title is now a random collection of numbers from our translation we did from number to text. I'll quickly retype August 2020 into the merged cell, adjust the font size, and bold. As you can see, both methods put August 2020 at the top of your document. However, for consistency's sake, I am going to use August 2020 in the header of my document. Now that our document looks good header and footer-wise, let's get into the rows of the calendar. The first row of the document will be for our days of the week, so I'll type those in, adjust their font size, center align, and bold them all. While I'm here and have the days of the week selected, I want to be kind of fancy right now and make the cells black with white font. So I'll go to the Home tab, use the Paint Bucket tool to select black, and then use the Font Color tool to select white. If you want to be extra fancy and place white borders between each day, you can keep the row highlighted, select Format Cells from the menu bar, and then select the Border tab. The first thing I want to do here is go to the left Line Style menu and select whichever border type strikes my fancy. Then I go immediately below to the line color section and adjust my line color to white. I'll scroll over to the right of the menu and select the vertical border option, the center icon, and then click so that a white border will be placed between each column. Click on OK, and now you should have white borders between each cell. August 2020 technically needs 6 weeks of rows. And then we'll need to multiply 6 by 2 because each week will need 2 rows instead of 1 row. So, and please double check me on this, I did not get a degree in math. 6 times 2 is 12. While I input all of the days of the week into the calendar, skipping a row in between for our schedule content, I will mention that down the line, I'm going to be creating a more advanced Excel formula video showing you how to create a calendar using formulas and how dates can auto-adjust based on the month. That's a much more advanced topic, and right now we're just creating the basics, but that's coming down the line. After I've put in each date number into my calendar, I see that each number's cell has a green triangle on the corner of it. This is because, once again, Excel is not a text word processing application. It is a spreadsheet application, so when it sees a number, it wants to format the cell as a number cell, not a text cell, as we adjusted it earlier. You can ignore these green corners, or if you are as anal retentive as I am, you can go through individually and right-click each one and select Ignore Error. Now we need to make the content rows larger so we can actually type things into the cells. Holding down the Command key, select all of the empty content rows. For me, that's rows 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. And then, once all the empty content rows are selected, click and drag little by little one of the rows borders to readjust their size until the content and numbers fill the entire page. This calendar is really shaping up. Let's work on our borders and shading now. The first thing I'm going to do is select cells A2 through A13, the whole first column besides the day of the week. Then I'm going to go into the Home tab, select the border option arrow, and scroll down and select outside borders. We aren't selecting all borders here because I don't want a visible line between each day's number and content. I'll repeat this process on rows B through G. Then I'll do the same thing for each row by selecting cells A2 through G3, the whole first week of August, and then go into the Home tab, Border option, and select Outside Border. I'll repeat this process for each week, and then I have a calendar with borders for each day. Now, if you would like to create a notes section like we did in Word, you can select cells A2 through F3, and then click the Merge and Center icon under the Home tab. I'll use the Paint Bucket tool under the Home tab to make the cell a gray color, and now you can type in your notes here. I've also decided that I want to be fancy this time and differentiate my number cells from my content cells. So I'm going to hold down the Command key and select all of my number cells. Once they are all highlighted, I'll use the Paint Bucket tool in the Home tab to select a light gray shading. Before I enter my schedule info into this calendar, I'm going to make sure that my wrap text option is on by selecting the whole table and then going to the Home tab and selecting the wrap text option. This option makes sure that if you write more than the cell width, the text will move onto a new line within the cell's boundaries, rather than overlapping onto the next cell. We love setting healthy boundaries at Stage Manager Supply Co. There's one more tip I would like to share about entering content into an Excel document before we move on to our saving and PDFing process. Because Excel is not a word processing document primarily, there are certain nuances that you need to use in Excel that would be very simple in Word. If I'm typing in content into one of my cells and I would like to return onto a new line, I can't just hit the return button to create a new line. To move content onto a new line, you need to hold down the Option key while clicking the Enter or Return button. This is one of my favorite Excel tips and tricks, and I hope if you take anything from this video that you take this trick with you. As a final cleanup, I'm going to merge the empty cells at the end of the month, and then use the Paint Bucket tool to make them the same light gray as the notes section. And with that, I'm going to change my version in the header to A, save as this document as version A, making sure I keep my file format Excel workbook, PDF this document as version A by selecting File, Print, and then pause here for a moment. As I'm looking at the preview image of my calendar on the print screen, I notice that my logo seems to be in black and white. This is because the printer I have selected right now is a black and white only printer from a previous production. I can rectify this quickly by selecting a printer that I know prints in color. When I selected the color printer, I can see that my logo changed to color. I'm now good to continue down to the left-hand corner PDF dropdown and then select Save as PDF. I'll click Save, and then I'll exit out of the document. I'm going to open up our PDF to make sure everything looks good. And there you go. We have a beautiful Excel-generated production calendar. Congratulations! You should now have 2 production calendar templates that you can store away in your stage management vault for any future productions. If you have any questions about any of the methods I used today, or would like to share your own production calendar tips and tricks, feel free to leave a comment down below. If you would like to learn more about the American Indian College Fund, you can check them out at the link in the description of this video. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more, feel free to click the like button, click the subscribe button, and click the bell icon so that you'll be notified whenever I post a new instructional video or podcast. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!